All right, what's going on, guys? And today I wanted to talk about Supermotos, and more specifically the new ones that are entering the market, like the KTM and the DRZ. Uh, we've spoke about in the past. I made a video on all the Supermotos that I recommend. We have the CRF 450 here, and we've pretty much only owned Supermoto conversions in the past, but I've talked about the DRZ and the KLX 300. But from our experience, we've been riding Supermotos for the last 8 years. We started on a CRF 250L, and then Dad got his XR 650L and converted both of those. And we've always said that once a 450, if Honda ever came out with a 450, we'd Supermoto convert that. So here's that. And love all three bikes. The 250 was underpowered, but it's still a blast. That's why I still recommended even the KLX 300 because they're solid bikes. They're super fun, and if you're not hungry for power, they're going to be great bikes. I also highly recommended the DRZ for another non-conversion supermoto that's pretty good. But it's exciting to see some new supermotos hit the market, like the KTM, with a really competitive price and really respectable power. And it also looks killer. KTMs are always known for being more powerful and high-strung, so it'd be really interesting to see those two side by side, given the fact that the DRZ is a little bit lighter, but the KTM will probably outperform it. But there is a lot to mention for KTM. They have basically gone bankrupt, and I assume from most of the research that they'll probably just be bought out from a different company. So that's a lot of speculation there, but it could lead to potential inability to get parts. So that is also a scarce and concern. And the new DRZ, which is getting a lot more hate, but I do want to talk about a lot of the cool things that the new DRZ has. Since we are going to get the new DRZ, wasn't planning on it after we saw the cost because it was a little bit more than what we were wanting to spend. But we spoke with our buddy Jason at Yamaha Louisville, gave us a good deal. So we're excited to see that and hope to be one of the first ones to get one in the States. So there'll definitely be a bunch of videos on that. If you're interested in the new DRZ, definitely subscribe. Conversions can be a pain. We had a lot of issues with the 450 when we converted it. The other two, the CRF 250L and the XR, were pretty flawless with the conversions. But on this bike, it was a little bit difficult to get the proper gearing. So don't have to worry about any of that with either of these new Supermotos. So we're going to head and hop on the computer and check them out. All right, we got the two bikes pulled up. We're going to start with the DRZ 4SM, and we'll talk about the KTM as well. We're going to go over pricing, some of the cool features of each bike, and what are some of the drawbacks I think people are complaining about on the new DRZ, or not drawbacks necessarily, but more of the complaints, and why I think they're not really a big concern like a lot of people are making it. So we'll go ahead and start on the DRZ. This is the white one here, and we actually went with the sky gray, so it's kind of a cool, more unique color. In the pictures it looks more bluish to me, but we'll find out when we get it in person. These bikes, the DRZ is expected to be shipped mid-May, so hopefully middle to end of May we should have the bike, crossing our fingers. But the bike is completely different from the old DRZ, so pretty much everything's changed. Like I said, the $9,600 price point is about $1,000 more than the old DRZ, so you kind of expected it to be maybe a couple $100 more. Didn't expect it to really be a full $1,000 more, but I think there's a lot that you get in that big price difference, so I kind of want to talk about that. Starting off with the slipper clutch. So the new DRZ has a slipper clutch, which is going to be something I've never experienced before. The CRF 450L that I have, it's about $1,000 upgrade, that alone. So I think that's something to mention that a lot of people aren't mentioning. I think it'll be really cool to try. Essentially on downshifts, it just makes downshifting smoother and prevent wheel hop when you're downshifting, which I get a lot on the 450. When we're riding through the tail and stuff. So I think it'd be interesting to see how it performs compared to the 450 at the tail. So I'm interested to see how much they've changed the gearing, if they've changed it. They haven't really specified yet, but I kind of predict that they did, given the fact that they didn't do a sixth gear. That's like the biggest thing people are complaining about, is the bike doesn't have a sixth gear. But I think they're kind of missing the mark. I know a lot of people like to do highway riding, and I don't think really supermotos are ideal for highway riding. So it's not a real big complaint for me, at least. If we have to go on the highway, we'll just throw the bike in the back of the truck and take it there, because it's more fun for canyon riding and more meant for around urban city riding or canyons. So back roads, twisty roads, I think that's where the bike shines. But you can see the bike is completely different. The headlight, I like the headlight. A lot of people don't. One thing I also wanted to mention too is we're definitely going to be piping it, and it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully they have fuel controllers, because fuel controllers are cheaper than whole new ECUs. Like on the 450, we had to swap out the ECU, and that was a pretty big cost compared to a fuel controller on some of the new fuel injected motors. And another thing that they did was completely redesign the frame and the subframe. I think that's kind of key, because our buddy had an old DRZ, and that was like one of the things that failed on it, was had a cracked subframe. He never even dropped the bike, but somehow the subframe cracked. So I think that's something to mention. That hopefully this one's a little bit more durable. You know, compared to the old DRZ, if you wanted to throw some LEDs on it, you're going to be spending a couple $100 on that. So that's another thing to consider when you're thinking that big price jump to the new DRZ. Plus, I think the looks adds some money to it too. But our biggest hope is that the bike will really wake up with a tune and a aftermarket exhaust. So that'll be really interesting to see. I think it will, but it'll be just something that we'll have to see once we get the bike and once parts come out. So hopefully it just requires a tuner, a flash, or a fuel controller to waken the bike back up. But yeah, we're really excited to try out the new DRZ. I think it's going to be really neat. It's going to be really interesting comparing it to the old one. My buddy has the old DRZ, so we'll be definitely doing comparisons. So his is already modified, so we'll still do a comparison of the speed with that, but it'll definitely be more interesting once we get it piped and the ECU flashed or fuel controller. It'll be real interesting to see which one's faster at that point. I'm thinking it's going to be the new bike, but we'll find out. All right, and here we got the new KTM 390 SMCR. This bike MSRP is $5,499 plus $575 freight. So that brings the total to roughly about a $3,500 difference between the two bikes, which is a lot, especially when you consider the very small difference in performance, and might even have the leg up on the KTM. But there is a lot to say for the company potentially going under and availability of parts. I've heard several times that KTMs do have a scarcity or difficulty of delivering on getting parts to their customers. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Let me know what your experience is, if you ever had a KTM, if that is actually a concern, or if you've ever had an experience or difficulty of getting parts. But for the money, I think this bike is going to be really hard to pass up. Like I said, they both have a slipper clutch, so there's really no performance advantages of the DRZ over the KTM besides the assurance of it's going to be around for years to come. And just based off of Suzuki's history, they're probably not going to change the bike for a really long time. The KTM actually does have a sixth gear, so it probably will be better for somebody looking to be on the highway. I don't think any of them are going to be good on a highway, though, to be honest. They're not designed for it. But I would say the KTM does have a leg up in that, having a sixth gear. But I think both bikes are super cool. It'll be interesting to see once they come out. I haven't heard on when the new KTMs are going to come out, but for the new DRZs, expect to see some videos in middle to end of May. Hopefully we get one of the first ones in. We did order it like the first day or second day of them doing pre-orders, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. excited for the new bikes to come out. Love to see that some new Supermotos hitting the market, and we'll find out more once they come in. But I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.